Hey everyone, it's Colin, and like the title suggests, today we're going to be busting the 5 biggest myths as it pertains to credit cards. These are questions I get all the time whenever I talk about credit cards, and whether you're brand new to the credit card space or you're an experienced vet, these are questions that you still might have or that might come up whenever you're talking about credit cards. You're going to want to stick around until myth number 5 because that's the question that I get every single time without fail whenever I mention that I have 10 plus credit cards. Let's get right into busting some myths. Starting with number 1, the myth that you have to carry a balance on your credit card to be able to build credit. This is just not true, folks. Listen, the only way to properly play the credit card game is to be using it to your advantage. If you're paying interest when you carry a balance, then in no way are you winning at the game. So let's say I have a $200 statement balance. Well, and if I only pay $180, then on that $20 extra, credit card averages about 25% interest on that remaining balance. So that's something you're not going to want to be paying. As the saying goes, you want to buy things with credit, not on credit. You only want to be purchasing what you can afford and the payments that you can afford to make. You don't want to use credit cards as a tool to further expand your lifestyle and inflate what you're buying. You really want to focus on keeping a proper budget and keeping things under control. So now let's move into the second biggest myth I hear. You should close old credit cards that you don't use anymore. While there can be some truth to this, the nature of it remains overall a myth. So let's use this example looking at the age of my credit cards. If I were to close my oldest account, it usually stays on for a handful of years, but ultimately it will drop off. And that is what's cushioning my overall average age while I'm opening these new cards. If I remove my oldest one, my overall credit average age is going to decrease. And when a credit issuer is looking at your overall credit health and credit score, one of the big factors in your credit score is age of average credit. Now, I'm going to be doing a full intro video on credit score explained, but just for the purposes of today, we're going to just be talking about this average age of credit. So at the beginning, I did hedge and say some situations you do want to close your oldest account. But situations like that would be for a high annual fee card that you're not getting benefits from. And if you're simply just paying to keep a card open and you're not getting any value, then that's an instance where it might make sense to close it. However, in a situation where it's a free annual card, then you would want to look at keeping that open because it's boosting your overall age of credit. Let's move into our third biggest myth. High annual fee or any annual fee cards are an absolute waste of money. While it is true that you'd have to pay money to keep certain cards open, a lot of the times they come with a number of perks that offset partially or entirely that annual fee associated with the card. So let's take an example of looking at a card that makes sense in my case for me to keep open. We'll take a look at the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless card, which has a $95 annual fee. And we're gonna look at it. Yes, there are all these other perks such as sign-up bonuses and statement credits and additional perks. However, what we really wanna focus on this example is at the bare bones, does this card make sense to keep open? So we take a look at this $95 annual fee card, and it comes with an annual free night worth 35,000 points. Let's use an example, very real example for me. I'm about to be going to Chicago for a trip, and I want to be booking a hotel night. I'm going to go to Marriott's website and look at the hotel offers for this night in Chicago and see in what situations this free night award makes sense for me. So scrolling through here, we can see some examples of properties that are under the 35,000 point threshold for my free night, and they are worth well over the $95 annual fee that I'm paying. In some cases, well over $200. So in these examples of a very real example of me utilizing a annual fee card, I'm getting additional value out of holding this card than I would otherwise. I'm not just getting $95 off of my hotel stay. So in this case, I'm paying X, $95, to get X plus Y, getting the $95 plus all this extra value from simply having this card open and utilizing it to take advantage of the perks that are already coming with this card. So in this case, it totally makes sense and we can easily bust this myth. Slight caveat though, again, if a card has a very high annual fee and you're not utilizing the credits that come with it and you're losing money and it doesn't fit your lifestyle anymore, you might need to reconsider having that card. And now we're gonna move into the fourth myth that we're gonna bust. That me, someone with 10 plus credit cards, spends an ungodly amount of time figuring out which card I'm gonna use in this situation versus this situation, and how on earth can I keep track of all these cards? Well, while it is true that I do think about which card I use for certain situations, I have a lot of that very much streamlined and standardized for different occasions. But high level thinking, 3, 4 potentially different cards. I'm not analyzing these 10 plus cards to think about, I'm gonna use this one for this for this. It's kind of just baked in already to my thinking versus having to analyze every single decision I make throughout a day or throughout a week. A lot of it is kind of streamlined, as I mentioned. There are situations where if I'm working on a sign-up bonus for a new credit card, where I'm gonna basically put all of my spending on that one card. And it's kind of what I'm doing right now while working on a sign-up bonus. When you open a new credit card, not only do you get your normal perks of points, miles, or cash back from having this card and using it day to day, but oftentimes with cards, especially those with annual fees, there will be requirements or sign-up bonuses to where if you spend a certain amount of money in a period of time, then you're gonna get an elevated offer of an additional amount of points. Something that can really make having that card super valuable. And that's where a lot of that value comes in from playing this credit card game, where yes, I'm getting points day to day from the things I buy, but the bulk of my points and the bulk of where I make money from playing this game comes in the sign-up bonuses. Because inherently, I don't have a ton of spending that goes on day to day, but where I can really utilize credit cards to my advantage is on these massive sign-up bonuses. And so when we look at it, it's this extra value for buying things that we normally do. You don't want to spend extra money to hit these sign-up bonuses. You want to spend organically, because then that's where you really are able to win in the credit card game. So if I'm going around buying things I normally do, or I have big expenses coming up for, say, let's pretend we use this Chase Sapphire Preferred card, for example, where it's 60,000 points after spending $4,000 in 3 months. That 60,000 points, that base value in cash back is $600. If you use it for travel, then it's valued at 1.25 cents per point. And then if you were to use it for transfer partners, such as Hyatt, then you would get even more potential for value on those points that you've earned simply for buying things that you normally would and having your lifestyle be as it already is. So a really neat thing, and we can successfully bust the myth that you need to over-optimize every single purchasing decision that you make, because at the end of the day, a lot of the value and benefit from having credit cards comes from these sign-up bonuses. So now we've gotten to myth number 5. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the question that I get asked every single time I reveal that I have 10 plus credit cards. And this myth is having that many cards absolutely demolishes your credit score. That couldn't be further from the truth. So if we take a look at my credit report, and we can see how my credit score, it's in the 790s. And if we see this little dip here on the graph, that's when I opened up one of my last credit cards most recently. And you'll see that this dip of a drop of a point, yes, it did decrease when I opened this new credit card, because with your credit score, there's a variety of factors such as hard inquiries, which is what happens when banks pull your credit history to be able to see this request to whether to approve or deny you for this card. And so that hard inquiry does negatively impact your credit score for a temporary time. It doesn't drop you 50 points, doesn't drop you a significant amount. It's a short drop that recovers usually within a few months. The other factor that could drop slightly is your average credit age. Anytime you open up a new card, that will decrease your overall credit age because you're adding in this new card, which will bring down the average because it's brand new. However, that's not a major needle mover, especially once you get established in the credit card game and once you have a number of cards already under your name in your profile. So just a normal day-to-day, even a 1 point drop, that's not doing anything. A 5 point drop, that's not really doing anything. Even 10 points, that's not really moving the needle on your, say, approval odds for getting a new credit card. So this all-time myth that I get asked every time I tell someone how many cards I have, we can, without a shadow of a doubt, bust this myth. So there we have it. We've dispelled 5 of the biggest myths when it comes to credit cards. Well, yes, there was some truth to a few of them. Overall, we can, without a doubt, say that those myths have been busted. Go ahead and check out the next video, and I'll see you next time for some more videos.